We're going to go over here now to the next cell for Wiz. Wiz, that's going to be a tough act to follow, man. I mean, I had to go on one of my rants there for a minute, just getting tired of hearing about Kenneth Walker, but go ahead. Your cell here, number 2. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so it's going to be one. I don't know how people feel about it, but it's going to Xavier Worthy is my sell. And it kind of goes down to I don't really believe in the talent, right? Of I know a lot of people have already compared him to a best ball kind of guy where he's just boom or bust, right? He's gonna get those big play abilities, or he's gonna get nothing. I know week one, I was like, oh, dude, maybe he's really good. He's really fast. He really torched us when they played against Baltimore. But then after that, 4.2 points, 5 points, and then week 4, guess what? In our blow up game, there was 16 points, 11 points, and it kind of just hit or miss there. And for me, when I put someone in my lineup, I want to have that, that guy I can depend on that knows going to get me at least, that minimum 12 points to that 24, maybe more if they're in the right lineup, have a good matchup, stuff like that. And with Xavier Worthy, if you need him on a Monday night to put up at least 7 points, you're probably shitting your pants watching that game. Like, come on, is he going to get that big play or is he not? And kind of where he's valued right now, like I said, wide receiver 20 right now in KTC, he's 53rd overall, which is ahead of Jordan Addison, Jared Goff, Josh Jacobs, which I feel like that's not a good comparison. But when you start digging into the trades, where Worthy and the 2.3 for Dunze, I'd rather take the gamble on Dunze, especially with Ben Johnson coming in there. Xavier Worthy and Bucky for Gibbs. I guess that's a little bit closer by believing Gibbs' long-term value over Bucky.
No, that would be a smash Gibbs on my end too, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And then Xavier Worthy for a 27 first and 26 second. Just re-rolling the dice there. We know 27 class to be really good. You don't know where that pick's going to wind up there. And a trade I just made in a league. I traded Xavier Worthy, the 1.2, the 3.2 for Lamar Jackson, and Marshawn Lloyd. Like, for me, it's just no brainer to sell Worthy right now. You don't know what's gonna happen. I know Rice is kind of up in the air. We don't know how long he's gonna be gone for, how long this suspension is gonna be. But the Chiefs might bring someone in. Free agency, there's still a couple middle tier guys that are gonna be out there to be picked up. The draft class isn't really incredibly strong in wide receiver, but there's gonna be some gems there for sure. And I think the Chiefs could scout a little bit, maybe not. I mean, they did take Sky Moore, so
they've definitely had a notorious history of being hot and cold. But Mike, I know Worthy, you're a little bit more of a supporter than me and Wiz are. So, what's your feelings on him right now?
So some of the trades you mentioned, Wiz, it's kind of hard to argue the Worthy side, in my opinion. But we've talked about this before, and I think maybe even off air. I think both of our shows have mentioned it before. The Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers usually don't hit exactly right away. Usually they're a middle of the season type production. And that's kind of what we saw from Xavier Worthy. The end of the season, weeks 11 through 17, which is, obviously the middle of the season, then your championship. He saw over 6 targets in every single one of those games, double-digit points in every single one of those games. Then you go into the playoffs, again, biggest stage of them all. You got 5 receptions, 45 yards. Then you got 6 receptions, 85 yards, 8 receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got going towards the end there. He started to build that Mahomes trust a little bit because you could tell beginning of the season, a lot of those deep shots weren't hitting. I felt like maybe, Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a guy with that much speed in a very, very long time. It's been, 3-4 years since Tyreek Hill has been gone from, went to Miami. So they started to build that connection a little bit. I could agree, maybe more of a best ball guy than a week starter. I could see him being like your wide receiver 23 finish, wide receiver 24 finish with weeks that, he could be in the top 5. But you still need those wide receivers to fill in at, as a wide receiver 2 or 3 or whatever. I still believe in Xavier Worthy.
And I think where I'm at is with Worthy is he is a little bit better than I thought he would be. And I will give him credit. He feels more comfortable. I think that's a big thing. He is comfortable there in Kansas City. It just down the stretch, he just looked like, okay, I've been here. I can do this. And I do think look, I don't think he's going to be a bust by any means. I think he'll be an okay player in this league. But I think where Wiz is getting at is, and I think like what you said, Mike, how you would take some of them trades. I think like you got to dangle him out there because if people want to value him as a wide receiver one, which I don't think he'll ever be. I mean, I think at best we're going to see 20 to 24 top end finish out of Xaiver Worthy. And the big question is what happens with Rashee Rice? What happens with Travis Kelce? Like, and you got to be a little bit careful with Worthy just because, like, if Kelce, let's say Kelce does walk away, and we know Rashee Rice is dealing with the bad injury and the suspension, so he might not be back for a while. Xaiver Worthy could come out and really benefit early. So, like, maybe during the season he becomes a little bit more valuable in that aspect. So I think you just got to really watch. But if people, and you know this, I mean, there are some people out there that just love some of these guys. They are superheroes to them, and they will pay whatever it takes to get them. And I mean, I'm not saying he's a horrible player, but I think if you can get a big package for a guy like this, where you're getting an upgrade and you're clearly getting an upgrade, I think you take it and run. Like some of them trades you mentioned, Wiz, I do either side compared to Worthy and on all them deals. So, I mean, I think that's just a big thing with him. I will say he has impressed me as far as like, I think he's done better than I expected. I do still think that like when the Chiefs all get it together, he'll be more of a hit or miss player, but he's still a guy that's going to be around and he's comfortable in that system. But I do think that he is a sell based off the fact that like people want this guy. You know, they want him. I mean, and that's what we talked about. Dynasty's a game of opportunity. I mean, right now his value's up, and I just don't know if he's going to give you the return that's quite high enough. Like when we're talking about some of them trades, boy, that's just lopsided to me almost. You know, so and we got to really watch and take care of that. So interesting player. We'll see what happens, but I think he's a player that could even pick up a little bit more steam as we go along, just based off Kansas City's roster and what happens.